Good afternoon, quilters. It is Tuesday afternoon in New York, and summer has returned. We had our first false fall where the weather was down in the 60s and we were closing windows and putting on socks. But that's over now, and we are back in the 90s, which is a great day to find out that the air conditioning in my new car isn't working. Not a problem. I just have to run over there when I'm done here to prove to them that it doesn't work. They were testing the air conditioning on a 62-degree day, and they said it worked fine. So I'll be doing that. Let me open the chat so that when you get here, you can leave a comment and let me know that chats are working. I'm home in my studio, and I'll be home through the weekend because here in the United States, it's Labor Day weekend. So we are off on Monday, so it's a long weekend. I will be home to quilt, and I'm really looking forward to finding my sewing room, like the floor. There's a lot going on in here that needs to be taken care of. Is that anyone else's goal for a long weekend? I hope you have fun plans, but my plans include clean my sewing room, or at least work up to it. Let's see what else is going on. I was on a quilt retreat and I got home Sunday afternoon, and I've done a little since then because I had to rest up before and rest up after, and it was worth all of it. My friend and I had a condo in the Berkshire Mountains in Massachusetts, and we had a full kitchen, so we brought all of our food due to allergy issues. And then we cooked when we wanted, and we slept when we wanted, and we quilted when we wanted, and then we did some touristy things. So that was kind of fun. And I wanted to tell you about what I made and how plan A isn't always what you might think it is. So the quilt that's behind me, oh, let's see. Hello, Annette in hot, hot, hot Kissimmee. Yes. But remember, whenever I'm saying how cold it is this winter, that you'll be comfortable. And hello, Patty. I'm glad you're here. I pulled out one unfinished quilt, one piece of clothing, and 2 kits to take with me. And I did 2 of them, and I almost finished. I finished one of them completely, and I didn't finish the other. So this isn't finished yet because it needs a border. And I gave up because I scowled at this thing for 4 days. So this was an unfinished quilt that I started in 2019. And apparently I cut all the pieces and made 2 blocks. Now, the center, you can see there's a black diamond in the center of each of the blocks. I was supposed to trim that, and the black isn't part of it. So the color is the beginning of that. So I'm supposed to trim that color, that square in the middle with 2 rows of color around it. And then there's actually a little bit of black on each end, like here and here and here, and very down at the tip there. I was supposed to square that up to 9.5 inches. So I tried squaring it up to 9 inches because it's biased the whole way around. So I squared it up to 8.5 inches, and then I added the corners. So 1, 2, 3, 4, and I had to make 160 of those corners. I don't like any directions that start with make 160. But I made 160 of those, and I sewed them on, and then I squared them up, and it was supposed to square to 12.5, but it didn't, so I squared it to 11.5, and that was tons and tons and tons of bias. So they were stacked nicely, they were pressed, I was ready to go. I started piecing them together, and right here in these 4 corners, there wasn't supposed to be black in the middle of it. There wasn't supposed to be any sashing going between the blocks. This was supposed to make a perfect diamond. Well, with all the trimming and fudging I did, didn't work. So then I added a sashing. And then you can't tell that it's ever so slightly off. It would have just screamed at me, look how bad your points are. Nothing's matching. You're a terrible quilter. You should throw this away and maybe take up golf. Have you ever had a quilt that has done that to you? This mocked me for 4 days. So late at night on the last night, I finished piecing all of it with the sashing. I hung it up very carefully now because that is all bias along that top edge. I'm going to sew 2 inches all the way around it, then the quilt will be done. So yeah, that quilt didn't go with plan A. It didn't go with plan B. It didn't go with plan C. So this quilt is already called plan D because I had to trim the first block one size. I had to trim the outer block another size. And then I had to add add sashing. So yeah, it's at least we're on plan D now that we're adding sashing and borders. So yeah, I'm not sure what size the quilt is. It was 66 by 77. So 66 plus 66, 74-ish by 77, 77, 86. 74 by 86 is the size of it, which is a nice size. Yeah, sandal. I now have a new quilt pattern. Yes, but I won't design a quilt pattern where every last piece of it is bias. That's just not my jam. I won't do that. I wouldn't do that to you. I wouldn't do that to me. It was not kind. But it is done. So it's, what did I say, 74 by 86. And then I'm going to add 77 by 89. And what I'm wondering is if I should take it up just a little bit bigger to make it a bed quilt or just finish it the way it is. Ooh, I almost accidentally blocked you. Plan D is beautiful. Thank you. So it's 77 by 89 inches. And if I put on an outer border, it will be up to queen size. Should I let this be a very large giveaway quilt, or should I make it a large giveaway bed quilt? Do you have any thoughts on that? Because I have bolts of all of this fabric. This is Dublin from, I think that's Northcott. So I have bolts of all of it and can add borders, but I'm not sure what to do. The quilt is really heavy because it has over 13, it has between 13 and 1400 pieces in it right now, because yes, I counted, because each one was evil and I resented every last one. Plan D from outer space. Yes, Plan D from outer space. It's like we get each other. So leave it with just a little border, like a setting border to get rid of the bias, or put a bigger border on it and make this a bed quilt. So let's see. Sandal loves Dublin and would make it a bed quilt. Okay, I can do that. And hello in South Carolina, Janet. Did I guess right? I think I guessed right. I remember you're in one of them, but I'm not always sure which. So yeah, I just have to add a couple borders. That will be no big thing. Then, in between that, like once I got all the blocks made, then I switched projects because otherwise I was going to burn this quilt. I switched projects and made this top. So this top is, it was some fabric I got at So Inspired in Connecticut. It was on their sale rack. It's all different kitty cats, which I love. And it's a style arc pattern that it has raglan. So this is the shoulder seam. And it has little dimples on the shoulders here because you sew a little dart in for the shoulder. So I like it. It has a little pleat. It has a little venting on the back, so it doesn't sew all the way down the seam and has a little venting on the side. And then I've had a couple families at church that are homeschooling families want me to do sewing with their kids. So I think we're all going to make this t-shirt. So I'll make more. So I do like it very much. And I think the next one will be Hello Kitty fabric. And the problem I have is I have so much fabric. It's hard to pick down. Like I don't need more than 5 shirts for the autumn, but I thought this would be a good transitional top because it's 3/4 sleeves. And that will take me through a lot. I can put a cardigan over it if I need to, wear it with jeans. I'm wearing it with a skirt right now. So which 5 fabrics should I choose? So you'll see this. You'll see me making more of these. It was a little interesting because the style arc is Australian patterns. So the seam allowance was 1 centimeter, except for the neck facing, which was 1/4 inch. I had just had to remember to change my sewing machine. Like, I'm not used to looking at anything but 1/4 inch. I'm like, oh, there's 3/8. Then it wasn't 5 inches. So it was 5/8 of an inch. So it was a little different bringing it all back out, but I got it figured out. And I'll be able to teach this to a bunch of teenagers who are looking to use sewing machines. They say they can always find people willing to teach quilting, but they can't find people willing to teach clothing. So I'm going to have a bunch of teenage girls making clothing. So that'll be fun. Now, the question after this becomes a bed quilt, it'll be like 89 by nearly 100 or over 100. So I forget which. I just have to write down the measurements. But it'll be a good size for a bed. How should I quilt it? Because I'm not custom quilting it. All the black lines don't add up. The sashing lines add up, and that's why I added them. like I do for my color blocks, where I have a block and a sashing and a block and a sashing. I don't want to have to match seams between them. So I always put a block in between and a cornerstone, because I don't like to do a row of blocks and then a long border and then a row of a long sashing and then a row of blocks, because the blocks might not line up, and that drives me batty. So I always do sashings and cornerstones because I can get it to line up. My preferred method. But I don't want to custom quilt this, just because this line here isn't straight. So I don't want to do something in the sashing. So I was thinking of doing some of my stencils and either making my stencils go down the row, down the sashing, down the row, down the sashing, or have them go diagonally down the row, the row and the sashing and the row and the sashing, because that could be fun. So I'll be thinking on that a little bit. How wide is my long arm? Not wide enough to put this on the diagonal, but I'll be quilting it on my home machine so I can put it on the diagonal. A spiral eye test would be fun. A spiral eye test. I could quilt a spiral on it, but this is going to be a really big quilt, and I'm not doing that. I could quilt the stencils with spirals in it. I could do that. So yeah, I'm thinking about it because it's going to sit in timeout for a little bit. It has to think about what it did wrong and what it can do better next time. And once it is fully contrite, then I will pull it out and finish it. But I was hoping to have it completely finished before I came home. I did take a kit with me that was from 2003. And then I had, what other kit did I have with me? Also from pretty far away. Pretty long ago. It was definitely in the aughts. Diagonal would be great. That's what I was thinking, just for a little pizzazz. So I'll think about it. That's what I did. A big spiral. That's a lot of quilt to get in a sewing machine. 100 inches. I'll think about it. I could do it. I'll think about it. I like it. I did think about it. I thought no, but I'll think about it again. So yeah. Again, it's in timeout, so I don't have to decide today. We also, while we weren't cooking or quilting or sleeping, we were jamming to 80s music. We were visiting a farm to pet some cows known as farm puppies. We went to go pet some alpacas it was open the day we went, except it was closed that weekend. I mean, we knew their Sunday hours and their Saturday hours, but that weekend it was closed. So we drove there, not quite. Visited a couple quilt shops. I'm going to call out Pumpkin Patch Quilting down in Lee, Massachusetts, and I'm going to call out Colorful Stitches Yarn Shop in Lenox, Massachusetts. And I forget what town Karen's Quilting Corner is in, but I can look that up. It's near North Adams, Mass. It is in Williamstown. So we visited all of those and had some good fun. And then we visited some farm markets and had some fresh foods and cheeses and all of that. So highly recommend a vacation like that. Honestly, it was the first time in years I haven't had my computer on for 3 days. That even includes when I was in hospital, because I was still on the computer somewhat. I never even took it out of my bag. So it was lovely. Do you have quilt retreats coming up? Because you should. Totally worth it. Reconnect with some friends, make some new friends, see a different part of the country, and focus on one project that you can't go, oh, I really should sweep the deck. Because I have a bird making a mud nest and my deck is covered with mud every day. I really should sweep my deck. Or I have dishes to do, or I should start dinner or whatever. So yeah, we can use some time away like that. I'm going to be going on another quilt retreat in September in Sturbridge, Massachusetts. And those are my 2 quilt retreats I've been on I think I was on a quilt retreat in 2022, and then not since years before that. So I'm not sure how many years it's been since I've been on a quilt retreat before that one. So it's been fun, and I look forward to doing it again. I've been to a quilt retreat at Primitive Gatherings in Wisconsin. I would go to that again. I would highly recommend it. I'm looking for other big group. I like the small group where a friend or two when I go away, but I'm also open to big ones. So like I was at Primitive Gatherings. So we'll see what's up. I'm looking. Every time I go on retreat and come back, and this has been for 25 years, I'm like, why don't I do this more often? Because I'm always like, oh, I could sew at home. I don't need to go. Yes, I need to go because I don't sew at home the same way. I did leave a really big tip in the rental for whoever was cleaning it, because threads, lots of threads. We did our best. I had a little container. I have a Hello Kitty container next to me for threads. And as I see them, I pick them up and put them in there. And I had a ball of threads this big that wasn't on me and wasn't on the floor. And I can't imagine what me and the floor would have looked like had I not picked those threads off, because I think I could have like knit a sweater out of it. That's how many threads come from this. So, yeah, so that's what I have going on. I'm recovering from a quilt retreat and enduring the last gasps of summer, I hope. Tomorrow's going to be in the 90s. Not looking forward to that. But that's what summer is. It's summer until September, so I have to put up with it for a while longer. I have some fun things coming up, and I can't wait to share them with you. So stay in touch. If you follow me on Instagram, you should see my reel of our vacation that involves, again, cows and yarn and fabric and stuff like that. And otherwise, I will be working on new stuff to bring out for you. Am I the only? I'm planning on staying in my sewing room and cleaning my sewing room through the weekend. So we'll see what I can get out for you. Anybody else? Their major Labor Day plans involve staying inside and quilting because it's going to be hot. That's what I do. So I'm going to give you, the more you look at the quilt, the more you like it. Oh, I'm so glad. It's all bias. Don't make it. I'm not even naming the pattern. I had to make this quilt. I had to start this quilt, but I didn't have to make it. I only had to make a couple blocks for a certain contractual reason. I thought, oh, it's going to be pretty. I should do this. Don't. So the pattern is right over there, and it's getting put in the recycling bin because it's all bias. And I'm sure it's lovely for people who want to sew with bias. I do not. So there. I had a big bucket full of scraps, and it was like a big Rubbermaid bucket that was just full of all the triangles. I trimmed off the edges of all of these. So Simon, pool time. Oh, I'm jealous with pool time. While I did take my my bathing suit on vacation, we didn't end up going to the pool. I mean, we saw it, but that was about it. Yeah, because pool, quilting time on vacation, we had things to finish. And what else? Quilting time for you. Well, everybody who has plans for this weekend, enjoy them. And out of the States, I hope you enjoy them as well. Happy quilting. Stay in touch. Take care of yourselves. Take care of each other. And let me check the calendar. I think it's going to be Wednesday next week. Because I have... No, both Tuesday and Wednesday are icky. So it will be Tuesday. I will have to keep it short and scooch out. I belong to a food co-op that brings a tractor trailer of food in, and they never tell you when it's going to be delivered. It's going to be delivered next Tuesday afternoon. But then I have a doctor's appointment on Wednesday, right? So I can't possibly do it. So on Tuesday, I'll just have to scooch out to go meet and pick up my tractor trailer, bags of oats and barley and, my stores of food. So take care, everyone, and I will see you next Tuesday at 2:30 New York